One of the unfortunate skills that artists need to have in 2022 is knowing how to decipher what is a legitimate career opportunity and what is a scam. And it's only becoming harder to tell which is which. Hi, my name is Kat. I'm an artist, educator, and my glasses frames are the same shape. And you're watching Artists Beware, the series where I talk about all of the shady things affecting artists. This video is the video. It's the video of videos. It's the Artists Beware master post. I am going to be giving a comprehensive list of scams and grifts that target artists online. Some of these range from schemes that are kind of just like a waste of your money, but aren't necessarily criminal, all the way to actual serious financial crimes and fraud. Each one will be given a rating on my patented 5-star scam scale, something that definitely no one has ever done before. And for each scam or grift, I will also be telling you how to better identify the red flags and show real-world examples to help protect you. I decided to compile all of these in one video because almost all of them are pretty quick to explain and they don't warrant their own videos. And these scams and grifts kind of all target artists exclusively online, and most of them will usually be approaching artists through email or social media. I won't be talking about subjects I have already covered, like NFTs and organizations like Raw Artists, because clearly I find those to be scams and I've made, entire videos about them. Before we get into it, let me just say I have personally almost fallen for some of these scams, so you shouldn't feel dumb or embarrassed if you've fell victim to them. Some of these feel like genuine career opportunities, and it can be really hard to tell if they're fake or not. Also, if you know of a scam or a grift that I didn't talk about in this video, please leave it in the comments to make me and other people watching this aware of them. Also, thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. You make all of my videos possible. If you like my videos or get something useful out of them, please consider going over to my Patreon and supporting me. I post exclusive videos and content over there. If you like my art, consider checking out my shop where I sell prints and stuff. So with that all out of the way, let's get into the list. Also, I've tried to categorize. I've kind of categorized these into different groups as best as I could to make it kind of easier to find something in particular through the chapters. This isn't a ranked list. They aren't going from least scammy to most scammy. I sort of broke them into different sort of types of scams, if that makes sense. Anyway, first let's talk about the unpaid work scams. First up, design and art contests. Design or art contests usually target illustrators or graphic designers, and they have popped up on my social media feeds or even in my inbox several times. These contests are typically held by celebrities or bands or for-profit companies that are legitimate, and they're looking to make new merch designs or use things for advertising, and they ask fans to submit their best designs for it, and the lucky artist will have their design used. Don't submit to these. These contests are trash and predatory. If they don't pick your art, you wasted your time and energy and gave them free promotion. And if they do pick your art, whatever exposure or good feeling you might get from it doesn't make up for the fact that they aren't paying you. You can't pay rent with good feelings. It's also just such a shitty way for people with a lot of money to take advantage of fans and artists for their own benefit. This type of behavior and mindset goes hand in hand with any potential client offering exposure as compensation for work. And like many artists have said over the years, you can't buy groceries with exposure. Exposure does not pay the bills. So while this behavior is really scummy, it is not as nefarious as similar methods of getting work for free. So it only gets a 1 out of 5 stars for me. Still, don't do it. Next, we have hiring test scams. This type of scam will target a wide range of artists and designers, anybody that creates something visual. Essentially, a company or individual will approach an artist claiming to want to hire them for either a contracted project or a permanent position. During the hiring process, they'll say they want you to perform a test before hiring you, involving you creating a hypothetical design for them for free. Of course, once you have made the thing for them, they will just take your artwork, use it for themselves, or sell it to somebody else and never pay you. The practice of companies doing tests in the hiring process isn't unheard of in various creative industries, from even like legitimate brands and companies. And I know that it is a standard practice in the animation industry. I would personally never create something whole cloth for a company where I don't know if they're going to pay me to do it first. An employer should always be able to decide if you are the right person based on your portfolio. There have been claims that legitimate brands and companies will steal test designs from potential hires and later use them essentially as blueprints by like stealing the core ideas. Anytime you do work for free for a company in the hiring process, they have the potential to steal it. So especially if the company is not well established and they're reaching out to you saying they want you to do test work before paying you, that's probably a scam. This is like pretty egregious, so it gets a 3 out of 5 for me. So now let's talk about the social media scams and grifts. First up is the fake Instagram influencer grifts. Instagram is in the pits nowadays, even more so than when I made my video about how shitty it was just like 2 months ago. One of the most common grifts I started getting in my inbox as soon as I hit like 1,000 followers is from accounts that market themselves as like inspiration pages or curators. These types of accounts will usually DM you saying that they love your work and they want to feature you on their page. When you reply, they'll tell you that it will cost you a fee, or that they even have like paid packages available for posting your work. For the unknowledgeable, their pages can appear legitimate and it might seem worthwhile to kind of use their platform to advertise your art. But if you look at their posts, usually their engagement is terrible compared to how many followers they supposedly have. And that's because they're mostly bots. But they will still charge you hundreds of dollars for a single post on their page. There's also more discreet versions of these type of like fake art influencer pages that have a real following that aren't bots. And I even followed a handful of them before I realized they're basically just trying to get people to pay for advertising on their pages. These types of accounts will post really good art, but on their bio it'll say, message me if you want to be featured or something like that. If you do message them wanting to be featured, they'll hit you with a wild price tag to do so. These accounts really piss me off even more so because they just post art without permission from popular artists, sometimes without crediting them at all, which I have experienced so many times. So their posts of my art would get thousands and thousands of likes. They would get increased engagement, increased followers, just so they could then turn around and ask for money from small artists to be posted on there. These people are really scummy in my opinion. It gets a 2 out of 5 for me. Now let's talk about the sponsorship grifts. These grifts don't target exclusively artists, but I'm going to include it because it's my video and I can do what I want. Also because I personally get them all the time. I get messages from brands about sponsorships literally every day. Some are for Instagram, some are for YouTube, but they are all usually crappy. 9 out of 10 times they do not offer you any type of compensation for asking you to write a post or make a video about their brand or their product. Unless it's something from a very small company or a friend that I personally think is great, I will never give free advertising to a company. They'll usually offer to send you something for free, but them giving you something for free is not the same as paying you. And some of these brands like won't even send you their shit for free. They want you to pay for the thing and then make a post about it. Like they'll give you a discount code for like 25% on this product and then ask you to review it. Like, fuck off. I know how tempting it is to want free stuff in return for something seemingly as like harmless and easy as an Instagram post. But the problem is that you're setting a precedent that you as a creator are not worth the money to hire for actual sponsorship. An easy way to identify if a brand is offering you a legitimate sponsorship is if when they reach out to you, they address you personally and give you specifics about you and your content and what they like about it, opposed to generic things like, oh, we like your page, we like your videos, we like your content. These type of brand deals are something that I would never do and I would never recommend anybody do. But they're not that harmful and they usually aren't like trying to steal something from you other than advertising. So it gets a 1 out of 5 for me. Next, we have the online art selling platforms. I get Instagram messages and emails from these like new online art selling platform startups. They'll ask me to join and upload my paintings to sell to collectors on their marketplace, or sometimes they call themselves like social platforms. They effectively act as like an online gallery and they take a huge cut of sales, anywhere from like 30 to 50%. And that's if you do get sales. What makes me really sus about them though is that you're like just supposed to trust these new startups won't steal your art by either faking a sale and getting you to send it out or not paying you for an actual sale. Because usually you get paid after the customer has received the painting with these types of art selling platforms. Because they're startups, they usually don't have like any credibility and I would not trust them. Like maybe some of them aren't scams, but the risk for abuse is high here. There are legit art selling platforms. The one that I have used in the past and I know is real personally is Saatchi Art. I did make a lot of sales in college as a result of them, especially after they wrote a article about me. But in the last couple of years, I think they have kind of changed and I don't really like where they are now. So I cannot recommend using them, but they are legit. You do get paid if you make a sale. It is real, but I wouldn't recommend using it necessarily. Usually these types of art selling platforms, especially the startups, have raised a bunch of money from venture capital and are just looking to profit quickly and as much as possible from the hard work of artists while not really giving a shit about their artists and treating them poorly. Overall, all of this gets a 2 out of 5 for me. Okay, now let's talk about the vanity art scams. This is going to be a whole slew of art world grifts that go hand in hand and usually target fine artists more than anyone else. I've been wanting to do a video exclusively talking about the vanity art scams, but I just didn't get to it, so here it is now. But essentially, vanity art businesses are either physical or digital galleries, art fairs, and publications that all have the same common quality of being pay to play. Meaning, if you just pay them money, they'll show your art. Hence the vanity descriptor. For context, let me just say for the new artists out there, you should never have to pay a commercial art business to be featured in anything that they are doing, apart from a submission fee. That is not how legitimate commercial art businesses function. Let's talk about the vanity art magazines and publications first. I would say the vanity art magazines or publications are the least harmful from this suite of grifts. Kind of similar to the Instagram accounts I was talking about. Someone from an art publication you've never heard of will approach you offering to feature you in their publication. The feature in question might be a short write-up about you, an interview maybe. Sometimes in this initial pitch, they'll tell you straight up that there is a fee that comes with being featured in their thing. Some of the sleazier ones will not disclose that and wait till you are several emails deep to tell you there's a fee involved, which is super shady and an extremely annoying bait and switch. But while these publications are scammy and annoying, it does seem like they usually are a real thing in the sense that if you pay them money, they do make the thing you paid them money to do. But they're absolutely not worth your time, and it's pointless in my opinion. So that gets a 2 out of 5 for me. Next, let's talk about the vanity art fairs. Vanity art fairs will approach you in a very similar way to the publications, trying to get you to feel special by saying that they are inviting you to participate in their upcoming art fair. And for whatever reason, they're usually based in London or New York City to try to seem more important, I guess. The emails are usually pretty generic, and they'll say, you know, pay us and you'll get a booth, or they'll be like, go to our website to check out how much these packages are, that type of shit. The art fairs themselves, while real, are boring, cookie cutter, vapid, and the fees that they ask for to participate in just a weekend art fair are completely bonkers. I've been to one or two like real art fairs, and even those are just incredibly overwhelming, terrible place to show your art, and I think they suck even when they aren't a grift. But like I said, because it's a real event and you do have more agency because you are sort of operating your own booth, you could make your money back, and I think there's less chance of an abuse here. It's just a waste of money, and I don't think you'll get much from it. So it gets a 2 out of 5 for me. The last of the vanity art schemes are the vanity art galleries. These are honestly kind of the worst of them all because they run on such a continual and permanent cycle where they just collect artists' money in exchange for exhibition time with like no care of merit or quality. It's just about the money. Usually their model is that they'll reach out to artists, inviting them to be part of a specific exhibition, which they'll charge a fee for, or they want you to rent the space for a solo exhibition and it will cost you thousands of dollars. Or they want you to become a member of their gallery in order to exhibit there and have solo exhibitions there. And it's like thousands of dollars to be a member at these vanity art galleries. And you're basically just paying them to rent the space for 4 weeks, once a year, sometimes even once every 2 years. And they'll even make these members who are paying this ridiculous amount of money sign up for mandatory gallery sitting hours because they won't even pay staff to work at these galleries. It's just like so disgusting and predatory, and like it also just makes art scenes so stale, so inaccessible, and so boring. Also, these vanity art galleries will still take a commission cut when you make sales. It's unbelievable to me. The only time I think memberships are okay is if they are from a like legit nonprofit art gallery or an art center, something that is community focused. They're not trying to profit off of you. There are reportedly some vanity art galleries that will make websites, make calls for art, take submission fees, and have art shipped to them, and they don't even exist at all. And then once they have the money and the art, they'll disappear, close their websites, and run into the sunset, I guess. Like, obviously those are like just scams with nothing in return, but it's hard to tell which ones are those true scams versus like the diet scams. So my advice is just avoid them all the same. Overall, the takeaway is if an art business asks you, reaches out to you for an opportunity, and they are going to charge you money for it, that is a huge red flag. Do not do it. It's a scam. The vanity art galleries get a 3 out of 5 for me. Now let's move into the last category, and these are the actual financial crimes. The first of these is the reimbursement hiring scam. These are kind of similar to the hiring test scams, but way more insidious and cruel. Scammers perpetuating this reimbursement fake hiring scheme will reach out to artists via email or reach out to them through Behance or ArtStation, or they might even have like listings on a job board. They will impersonate a notable video game studio, usually claiming to have open positions, and they're interested in hiring you. They will make you go through a very seemingly legitimate hiring process, down to even impersonating actual hiring staff at the companies they're pretending to be. They'll conduct interviews over Discord or Telegram, which that to me is a huge red flag. And they'll even have you sign contracts. And more importantly, you'll give them your bank account info for direct deposits and other personal information. Once you have gone through all of this, they'll ask you to send them money for necessary equipment for your job, like a new iPad Pro, as part of like the onboarding process. They'll claim this is normal and that they'll just reimburse you later. Reimbursement for equipment isn't unheard of, so this can kind of fool people into believing that this is legit. Of course, after the money is sent to them, they'll disappear because they're a scam, and now you don't have a job or the money you sent to them. This is such a cruel, long-form financial scam that targets artists. Like, making people believe that they've landed their dream job and preying on that to make them overlook red flags to steal money from them is like just evil. And for all those reasons, it gets a 5 out of 5 for me. All right, so this brings us to the most common, rampant, annoying financial scams that artists get all of the time. And that's the overpayment scams. You are probably familiar with this if you've been an artist on the internet for more than a few months. Because this scam is so widespread and targets artists so quickly, like new in their careers, I think it might be the one that the most people fall victim to. Because like the first time I received it in my inbox when I was like 20, 21, I almost fell for it. It comes in a couple different flavors, but I'm gonna be mainly focusing on the two that I think people get the most. The first comes in the form as an email from seemingly a man looking to buy a painting for his wife. The buying a painting for my wife guy. Typically, it'll be an email from somebody with the most like a generic sounding American male name. And he says that he likes your art, or better yet, that he saw his wife looking at your art on her laptop and she loves it. And so now he wants to buy something from you for her for their anniversary. Such a sweet gesture. He'll usually say that he's willing to pay a range of money from $5,000 to $5,000 and requests you to send over images of available work. If you keep playing into this scam, when it comes time to actually paying for the art, he'll mention that he's either out of the country or there's something weird that's going on with his card, so for whatever reason, he can't pay you in a usual way, and that he needs to send the money via a check. Apparently, there's also a very similar premise in the form of commissioning artists. I guess that's part of their repertoire now as well, with somebody on Twitter mentioning to me that they've been approached on Instagram for this type of scam. The other major flavor I've seen recently is the same scheme targeting photographers specifically, and that's the family reunion photography scheme. In similar fashion, it'll be a man wanting to hire a photographer to photograph his family reunion that's coming up. And either based on your public information or using the IP from your email, he'll tell you that the family reunion is close by to you, so it'll make it seem more legit. This guy will agree to any amount that you propose as a fee for your services, and then just like the paintings for my wife guy, he will then ask to pay via a check. So how does this scam work exactly? Regardless of the premise, the problem occurs when the scammer sends their physical or virtual check. Let's say you charged $800 for your services or for your art. The check they send will appear legitimate in every way, but instead of it being for $800, the check will be written out for more than what you agreed on. Let's say $1,000. The reason why it's called an overpayment scam is because after sending you that $1,000 check, they'll claim they realized they accidentally paid too much and then ask you to send back the $200 difference they overpaid, either before or right after you attempt to deposit it. Since sometimes checks can take a couple days to be deposited, it'll bounce, obviously, because it's fake, leaving you having paid him that $200. On top of this, sometimes artists will already have shipped out the art by that point too, so they'll lose both their money and the art to this scammer. I'm sure this is being done for any type of contracted artwork. So regardless of the premise, the real takeaway from this scam is that you should never ever take payment in the form of a check or any means that seems unusual. I personally always use PayPal when getting money from a client, even though it's evil and whatever. The reason why is because I can create an invoice that can be paid directly, and it'll also allow for partial payment, so I can ask for a deposit on something before doing any work or sending any art, and it will be all there protected in one invoice because PayPal has some amount of protection against fraud for both the client and the artist. So just don't Don't take money in a way that seems weird, because it is almost always a scam. This, of course, also gets a 5 out of 5 from me. So be aware of it, beware of it, and make others be very aware of it. No, that doesn't work. Okay, that's stupid. Okay, so that's the end of this video. I probably missed a bunch of different types of scams. Also, if you come across these scams, report them to the sites you find them on. And if they're really bad, you can submit a report to your government's cybercrime division. Not that they'll probably do anything. Again, thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. I objectively love you more. Also, you get your name in the credits of each video. They're probably going by my face as I speak. Wow, look at them go. Don't you want to be really cool? Also, if you don't, you're transphobic and bad. Okay. Until next time, do an art. I lied. My glasses frames are 2 different shapes. I was the real scammer all along.
Optimus.